My name is Hadria Stewart. I am the head of the Languages Department at Kingston Technical High School. Let's look at our objectives for today's lesson. At the end of today's session, candidates should be able to explain the main purposes for writing, differentiate between organizational structures and organizational features, give a summary of some of the comprehension strategies they can use to obtain meaning from text, and explain what source documents are and identify the organizational features used in source documents. So what are source documents? These are materials provided by City and Guilds for students to read and answer open-ended and multiple choice questions to test their comprehension skills. These documents usually include many organizational features and they are usually visually appealing. These materials are not only used for comprehension, but they can be used to generate content or ideas for the extended writing task. 2 source documents are provided at stage 1 and 2, and 3 source documents are provided at stage 3. Let's take a look at a sample source document. Okay, so we have a sample source document here on the screen. And it is entitled, Do You Have What Employers Are Looking For? And of course, as you look at the source document, you will see the image at the top. At the top, you will also see document 1. So each document is labeled. You'll realize that the source document has a heading and it also has subheadings. That is document 1. Here is a look at document 2. Also has a heading, subheading, it has an image, and you scroll down and you'll realize that the information, of course, is organized in paragraphs. So let's continue. Now, today we're going to spend some time to talk about organizational structures. Now, these are text structures. Authors organize information using different text structures. Informational texts usually use one or more of these text structures, and I'm sure that you are familiar with them. We use comparison and contrast, sequential order, cause and effect, description, and problem solution. In many instances, you will find that informational texts use more than one type of text at the same time, and I'm sure that you have done so when you write. Now, text structures, authors organize their information using different text structures. Informational texts usually use one or more of these text structures, and I'm sure that you're familiar with them. Compare and contrast, sequential order, cause and effect, descriptive, and problem solution. In many instances, you will find that informational texts use more than one type of text structure at the same time, and I'm sure that you have done that when you write. Organizational features are ways that an author breaks up a text so information is easier to find and easier to read. One of the most common organizational features in an informational text is the heading. Headings appear at the top of the major sections and gives the readers an idea of what to expect, or they can be used as summaries of that portion of the text. Underneath headings, you may also find subheadings that give you clues about parts of the larger section. Both headings and subheadings are usually indicated by a different style or font than the rest of the text. For example, you may see bold words, underlined words, or underlined phrases. Let's take a look at some organizational features. Okay, so we have different types of organizational features. We have the title, and the title indicates the topic and the main idea of the entire text. We also have headings. And these headings indicate the main idea of a section of a text. Then we have bold print, and I'm sure that you are familiar with bold print. These signal important vocabulary and or phrases that are integral to understanding the context of the text. We also have italics, which indicate proper nouns and important vocabulary, or that the reader should emphasize this word when reading. Another feature is caption, right? And captions explain the graphic feature it is nearest to. We also have pronunciation guide, and this shows the reader how to pronounce a word that is new or that may be unfamiliar to the reader. We also have bullets. Bullets summarize or list important information in a text. We also have sidebars. Sidebars provide additional details, additional facts, or information related to the text. We also have some graphic features. Graphic features include photographs with or without captions, and these help the reader to visualize real events. These help the reader to visualize steps or objects described in the text. Additionally, we have drawings, and these drawings can come with or without caption. And these drawings help the reader to visualize and better understand something from the text. We also have inset. Inset helps the reader to visualize something in the text in both large and small scale in combination with the larger picture. Then we have cross-section, which allows the reader to visualize all the layers of a person, place, or thing in the text. We also have cutaway, and the cutaway allows the reader to visualize both the interior and the exterior of a person, a place, or a thing in the text. We can also have a diagram. The diagram will explain steps in a process or how something is made. We can also have a labeled diagram. The labeled diagram shows the different components of something in the text. We can also have maps, graphs, and charts. In addition to that, we can have timelines and table of contents. So these are some organizational features that you can explore and you should look for when you are reading your source documents. Okay, here we have a sample question from a stage 3 specimen paper. The instruction is identify 4 organizational features used in the document. Now you can give any of the 4 that I mentioned before. So you can use headings, subheadings, paragraphs, bold text, different size text, color text, image, and columns. Let's shift to look at purposes for writing. Why do we write? Now, sometimes we write to tell stories. We call this narrative writing. Now, narration is telling a story narration is storytelling rather in many ways. And it is the easiest type of writing because it comes naturally to many people. We love to tell stories. Practically everyone enjoys telling and hearing good stories. Narratives usually progress chronologically. That means the order in which they happen, and must have clear beginnings, middle, and endings. Short stories, novels, personal narratives, anecdotes, and biographies are all examples of narrative writing. We can also write to describe, and we call this descriptive writing. Think of description as painting a picture with words. Of course, when you use words, you can paint more than you see. You can describe what you feel, what you hear, what you smell, and taste. The idea of description is to make the thing described seem real to your reader's imagination. Not much writing is purely descriptive. Writers typically weave descriptive into longer narrative works. Some essentially descriptive writing, however, might include certain forms of advertising, character sketches, and photo captions. We also write to give information or to give instruction. Exposition is writing that explains, and we do this all the time. Writing that instructs or informs. It is a practical kind of writing, the kind that you are reading and the kind that I am reading right now. Examples of expository writing include encyclopedia entries, news reports, instructional manuals, informational essays, and of course, research papers. Then some of us love to persuade. So there is persuasive writing. Persuasive writing seeks to convince the reader of a particular position or opinion. And all of us have our opinions, right? Persuasive writing might be difficult to do well because it requires a vast knowledge of the subject, strong convictions, logical thinking, and of course, some technical skills. Some examples of persuasive writing include literary essays, editorials, advertisements, music, or movie reviews. Here is another sample question, and this one focuses on the writer's purpose. It says, the purpose of document 2 is, and you are asked to tick the correct answer. And I want to emphasize that you ought to tick and not circle. Please follow the instruction carefully. So is it to review, to contact, to criticize, or to advertise? Tick the correct answer, and this question values 1 mark. Let's talk about reading comprehension. Comprehension is the goal of reading. Comprehension, or extracting meaning from what you read, is the ultimate goal of reading. When we read, we want to understand what it is that we have read. The process of comprehension, it is both interactive and strategic. Rather than passively reading text, readers must analyze the text, they must internalize it, and they must make it their own. In order to read with comprehension, developing readers must be able to read with some level of proficiency and then receive explicit instruction in reading comprehension strategies from your parents, your guardians, or your teachers. Let us look at some general strategies for reading comprehension. The process of comprehending text begins before you can read. When someone reads a picture book to you, you listen to the words, you see the pictures in the book, and you may start to associate the words on the page with the words that you are hearing and the ideas that they represent. In order to learn comprehension strategies, you need to model, practice, and get feedback. So you need to model, practice, and get feedback so you know what areas you need to improve. Additional comprehension strategies are using prior knowledge, or what we call previewing. When you preview a text, you tap into what you already know, and there is usually something that you know about that particular topic. So you tap into what you know that will help you to understand the text that you are about to read. This provides a framework for any new information that you will read. So we always move from the known to the unknown. We can also predict, and as human beings, we love to make predictions. When you make predictions about the text that you are about to read, it sets up expectations based on your prior knowledge about similar topics. As you read, you may mentally revise your prediction as you gain more information. For example, in the play Old Storytime, you can predict that Len will expose George's dishonesty, which affects Mama and other characters, based on the fact that George is an unscrupulous character whose demise is of great interest to Len. Len is about to bring him down. Additional comprehension strategies are identifying the main ideas and then summarizing those main ideas. When you read, an important task that you have to perform is to identify the most important thing that the writer is trying to say. Having identified the most important thing, then it is your duty to summarize. And we usually summarize by paraphrasing the main idea. Very, very important skills. Questioning is also another technique or strategy that we can use to aid comprehension. As we read, we're asking questions. So we're asking questions and we're answering those questions as we read so that we can gain the information that we need. Your teachers can help by modeling both the process of asking good questions and the strategies for finding the answers in the text. We also like to make inferences. In order to make inferences about something that is not explicitly in the text, you must learn how to draw on your prior knowledge. What do you already know about this situation? And you have to recognize the clues in the text itself. And then, of course, visualizing. We can just look at the images that are included in the document and we can visualize what it is about, and then we can visualize what is the information that we ought to garner from the text. It is important to remember what a summary is. Many persons have issues with summary writing, okay? So a summary briefly captures the main idea of the text and the key details that support the main idea. We call those supporting points. You must understand the text in order for you to summarize it. And I always say to my students, you cannot summarize something that you don't understand. So you have to make sure that you understand the material before you are able to summarize it. Another great strategy that I use and I love to use is the KWL strategy. It talks about what I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned. What I know about the topic, I'm going to make a column and I'm going to put a K above that column and I'm going to list all the things that I know about my topic. And then under the second column, I'm going to label it W, what I want to know. After I have read my source document, or before I read my source document, this is what I would want to know based on the topic. And then under the L column, I am going to write all that I have learned now that I have read my source documents. These are some amazing strategies that you can use to help to extract meaning from whatever material you read. Let us recap. There are various reading comprehension strategies that we can use to extract meaning from the text. We can use a KWL strategy. We can use identifying main ideas and supporting details. We can summarize those main ideas and supporting details. And when we do so, we have to paraphrase, meaning we have to summarize those using our own words. We can use our prior knowledge. We can make predictions. We can do visualizations. And of course, we can make inferences. We also need to remember the purposes for writing. Writing to instruct, to describe, to persuade, to narrate, or to entertain. In our next lesson, we will examine a Stage 2 specimen paper. We will also look at the 2020 word list. And of course, we look at highlights from the 2019 Chief Examiner's Report. Do you believe that you can pass your City and Guilds English Skills exam with a distinction? I believe you can. Believe you can, and you will.